Hey everyone! So, Bennett has been one of my favourite supports for a while now due to his amazing burst and shield destroying elemental skill. And so, I wanted to make this guide detailing all of his best weapons, artifacts and some team ideas so you can use them to his utmost potential. Now first up, let's take a look at his weapons. So as this is a support Bennett guide, we're going to be focusing on the swords that will help him with his energy recharge, as we want to have access to his burst as much as possible. So for this, let's have a look at his best 4-star weapons. So firstly we have the Favonius sword, probably the best 4-star weapon for Bennett. It has energy recharge for the main stat, which is really good. Then the passive can give you even more energy, allowing you to get to your burst much faster. Another decent 4-star weapon for Bennett, if you don't have the Favonius sword, would be the Sacrificial sword. It also offers a similar amount of energy recharge, which is good. However, the passive, while decent on characters like Shinshu, due to the low cooldown of Bennett's elemental skill, it's not as good on him. However, if you don't have the Favonius, then definitely use this. Now we come to the 5 stars. Now there's not many 5-star swords right now, but the best in slot 5-star sword for support Bennett would be the Skyward Blade. It's a very cool looking sword that offers a good amount of energy recharge as well as a high amount of attack, which your burst does scale off of, so this helps a lot. Next up we have artifacts. Now for support Bennett, there's one artifact set you'll be wanting, and that's the Noblesse Oblige. Now this set offers all that we need, a 20% elemental burst damage increase, as well as increasing the attack of all party members whenever you use your burst, which is great. As your burst only has a 15-second cooldown, so you'll be able to make use of this quite a bit. Now the only other artifact set I sort of recommend is the Maiden's Beloved. That makes your healing way better. However, I find that this is usually a bit overkill, as we are already going to be focusing on improving this healing with the artifact substats, so I prefer the Noblesse Oblige. Having an attack buff is much more useful. Now before we move on to the substats, let's go over the various artifacts first. Now for the sands, we definitely want to go for energy recharge. This will allow us to get to our burst faster, which is really important, especially for support Bennett. Although if you already have a high energy recharge, so much that you find yourself having your burst ready but it's still being on cooldown, you could go for attack sands. However, definitely make sure you have enough recharge first. Anything over 180% is decent. Next we have his goblet. Now you'll want to go for HP percentage, as this will increase the effectiveness of the healing of the burst. You could also go for attack percentage. It's more for DPS Bennett, however it will help the attack buff of your burst, which if you are lacking a bit of damage, this can help quite a bit. Finally we have the circlet. Now here we have two options, either HP percentage or healing bonus. Now healing bonus obviously will help your burst out quite a bit. However, HP percentage makes you a lot more tankier, which is really useful. So for this one, I would go for whichever one you have better substat rolls on. And speaking of substats, let's go over the substats you should roll for. First up is HP percentage, as it will have the most impact for our burst. Secondly, we either go for energy recharge or attack, depending on whether or not we have enough energy recharge. Now let's go on to his constellations and talents. Now for constellations, for most characters, I say they aren't really needed. However, Bennett's C1 is so good, so much so that if you do have extra primo gems, or if he's in the shop, then definitely try and go for this, as it makes using his burst so much easier. The rest of the constellations are okay, but not that amazing. That is until his C6. Now his C6 can either be really good or really bad, depending on which teams you like to run him in, as it makes any character's attacks inside of Bennett's burst to increase pyro damage and for their weapons to be infused with pyro. So if you run him with characters like Luke who already do pyro damage, then this is really good. However, other characters, perhaps like Chonyun, who will be forced to deal pyro damage, can really destroy their team. So be very wary of that if you do want to C6 him. And then next up we have talents. So we want to focus on his burst as much as possible to have better heals for his team. Next, his elemental skill, as it still won't deal that much damage. As it's a support build, however, it is one of the best skills when you need to destroy an enemy's shield, as it only has about a 2 to 3 second cooldown. Finally, let's go over his best teams. So, to be honest, he can be put in any team and do extremely well due to his crazy burst and the heal it provides. However, there are some niche roles that he does quite well in. Firstly, I mentioned before, but he is great at destroying shields, especially obviously cryo ones, so I always run him in the cryo domain. Also, with this E, due to its low cooldown and the NG it provides, he can also act as a sort of battery for your main DPS, feeding them energy if you are having trouble with this. Although if you are, I recommend someone like Fischl, who's a lot better at stuff like this. But yeah, so all in all, Bennett is one of my favorite supports who I run in pretty much all of my teams due to his crazy burst and shield destroying capabilities. And so if you are looking for one of the best supports in the game right now, then look no further than Bennett. Hope you enjoyed and see you next time.